everyone to the Working Class Revolt, and today I want to talk about a piece on the government's website where it's declaring 56 new sanctions on Russia. And what I want to discuss with yourselves today is, and ask for your opinion, is this helpful? Will it work? And is there a better way forward to try and bring the war to an end between Russia and Ukraine? And before I read this piece, or part of this piece I should say, off the website, the government website, can I please ask you to like, share and subscribe, and hopefully we can build this channel and talk about subjects that you just simply won't hear on the mainstream media. So the UK's government website starts by announcing 56 new sanctions in its largest sanctioning package since May last year. Today's actions would disrupt the supply of vital equipment for Putin's war machine and breaks down the Russian activity globally, exposing the corrupt activities of Russian proxy military groups in Africa. It then goes on to say the UK has today announced a wave of new sanctions against Russia's military industrial complex, further restricting the supply of vital military equipment Putin desperately needs for his illegal war in Ukraine. New targets include supplies supporting Russia's military production, Russia-backed mercenary groups operating in Africa, and a GRU agent involved in the use of Novichok nerve agent in Salisbury. These sanctions will directly target the supply of goods to Russian military and vital resources crucial to the conduct in Putin's, again, illegal war in Ukraine. Now, it carries on going, but basically keeps repeating the same lines, and that is it will stop him delivering weapons to the different areas in the war, and it keeps mentioning an illegal war. Now, the first thing I'd like to mention is, to me, the most important thing is for the killing to stop, for the war to stop. Hundreds and hundreds, if not now a million, people have died on both sides. And we do now know that only a couple of months into the war, when Russia had took certain territories, that peace talks was set to be finalised, which would have given Ukraine all its territories back, but it would have had to stay neutral and not join NATO, an alliance of countries that if you attack one, you go to war with all of them. Now, I can understand from both sides. Ukraine feels more safe in NATO, that it won't ever be attacked by Russia, and I totally understand from Russia's point of view why it wouldn't want NATO on its doorstep. Now, we could go really deep into what our beliefs are on why Putin did this, but basically the two sides of this. One side is that he was pushed into it by NATO, and the second side of it is that he's the next Adolf Hitler and he wants more territory back, which Russia used to have under the Soviet Union. Now, for what it's worth, I believe in the first one. Now that doesn't mean that I think that was Putin's only option. I don't know enough about it, and neither do probably most of the people watching this. But the history of Russia and Ukraine is very complex indeed, and I think that whether Putin is right or wrong to think this, he was never going to have NATO on his border, never in a million years. And by NATO, let's be honest, we're talking about the United States of America, especially under a very hostile United States of America under the Biden administration. And it's important to point out that there was no mention of this happening under Donald Trump. Now, at the time of these peace talks, it's reported that the United Kingdom and the US flew Boris Johnson out to end these talks and tell Zelensky, the leader of Ukraine, that it wasn't in the United States and UK's interest for the war to stop now. Now, the United Kingdom and the United States would love to see Russia, because it is the second biggest power in the world behind the US, they'd like to see it conquered. All big countries in the world would probably like to see their rivals conquered, but they don't want to get into a hot war with Russia, so instead we've been giving billions and billions of pounds to Ukraine. Now, we turn around the government and say we're doing this in self-defence. I personally think, whether it's self-defence or not, they would love to see the collapse of Russia. Russia would probably like to see the collapse of the US and the UK at the same time. But is it in the interest, and this is today's question, at a time when Donald J. Trump has just been elected the president, to 2 days after knowing that Donald Trump is now going to enter peace talks, try to bring the war to an end, why would America's biggest ally, us, put 56 new sanctions on Russia 2 days after, as Trump is going into peace talks? Now, to me, that seems purposely done. I did a video about a month ago where I was quite concerned that we seem to be prompting up our aggression towards Russia as it looked likely that Trump was going to become the next president. And then again, to me, it's not about right or wrong. It's not about the war. See, I don't think we're in any moral position, the United Kingdom, to talk about illegal wars. I don't think we're in a position to say whether Putin's a good person or a bad person when we have had nothing but dictator after dictator in control of Western countries. Now, it may look slightly different. We may look like we have democracy, but the truth is, we've just seen an election in America, and although I'm glad Trump has got elected, let's be honest, when you only have 2 people to vote for, that's not democracy. In the United Kingdom, we have a media that manipulates the polls. It will bring documentaries out on parties like Reform, only 7 days for an election, attacking them of all sorts. And that does sway people's minds. What else the polls do? They will tell you a certain party is losing big, and they know that puts thousands and thousands, if not millions of people off voting for that party because they think it's a wasted vote. So I don't buy the argument about democracy. I don't particularly care whether other world leaders are good or bad people morally. What I do care about is big, powerful countries with nuclear weapons trying to get on for the safety of the world. And I'm sure everybody watching this video thinks that too. So please let me know what you think. What do you think about these 56 sanctions? Do you think, one, they'll work? Because it doesn't seem the sanctions have worked so far. Do you believe that we're doing the right thing in supporting Ukraine? What I will say on this is, our media keeps telling us that the war in Ukraine is going to bring down Russia and that Ukraine is winning the war. Unfortunately, that isn't the case. And in other countries, the media that they show their people shows a very different story. And unfortunately, it shows that there basically is no Ukraine left anymore. You can look at the satellite pictures for yourself, Google them. There is no Ukraine. Unfortunately, Ukraine has been wiped out. And Zelensky, I think, deep down, would probably like to bring the war to an end. But there are people far more powerful than Zelensky on the Western world that just simply do not want the war to end. I think Trump will bring an end to the war, but I think it will now be a worse deal for Ukraine than it would have been originally. But I understand where Trump's coming from. If they don't concede now some territory to Russia, there may not be a Ukraine. So whether it's right or wrong, what is now the best case scenario? But please let me know your thoughts. And like I said at the beginning of this conversation, this is stuff, these type of topics are things that you won't be able to discuss with the mainstream media because we're told it's black and white, and it's never ever black and white when it comes to these type of conflicts. Putin is the next Hitler. That's something that's getting used about a lot of people at the moment. Ukraine are winning the war, and we must give Ukraine billions and billions of pounds. No matter, and this is the final thing I'm going to say is, you look at a time when our country is on the verge of collapse, or maybe it has collapsed already. Our NHS is just taking more and more money, billions and billions every year, and just keeps getting worse and worse. You can't get a doctor's appointment. Our councils are just running on skeleton crews. You only need to look outside and you'll see what a mess everywhere is. You know, you can't get a police officer out, there's no police on the streets, you can't get an ambulance, everything is falling apart. So the idea that we should keep giving billions and billions every year to Ukraine as well, if there's another way to stop it, just seems ludicrous to me. But thank you all for watching, and please continue watching, and please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.